Hi, my name's Jake. I'm an instructor with the Alaska Avalanche School, and today we're going to talk about avalanche rescue and the different pieces that go into it. And so this will be a little bit of a briefing so that when you go out in the field, you're better set up for success to practice. Before we get too far along, I just want to say don't do anything during a rescue that will jeopardize your safety. So any rule in rescue is that the rescuer's safety is the number one priority. And basically, the idea behind that is we don't want to turn a bad situation into an even worse one. And making a call not to do a rescue could be a really, really hard decision to make. And I hope it's one that you never have to experience. But just be mindful, like your safety is the most important thing. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the phases of an avalanche rescue. So there's four phases we're going to sort of start out with. We've got the signal search, the course search, the find search, and then we've got pinpointing or using your probe. During the signal search, you're looking for the signal. Your transceiver isn't really doing anything yet. It's just searching, so there won't be anything showing up on your screen. Once you pick up on a signal, you'll transfer into the course search mode, and we'll follow that towards the transceiver. Once you get within about 3 meters, you'll search from the course search mode into find search. And then once you've figured out the lowest burial number for the find search, then you'll go into pinpointing or using your probe. And then comes the hard work, shoveling. But let's talk about these four phases a little bit more before we get too far into this. So you can think of an avalanche rescue as sort of like a plane coming in for landing at the airport. When you're doing the signal search, you're going to be moving quite quickly. You're far away from the airport, you're far away from the runway, so you can be moving really fast. But as we start getting closer to the airport or our buried subject, we really need to start slowing down. And so when we're in the find search, we are moving really slowly and with a lot of deliberate movement. We're not acting frantically or spazzing out or anything like that. So just move with purpose and deliberation as you get further into your search. During the signal search phase, your transceiver hasn't picked up a signal yet. A lot of times debris fields are so large your transceiver won't pick up a signal right away, so we need to use a special search pattern that helps us find the transceiver signal as quickly as possible. So if you're by yourself, it'll be this zigzag pattern on the left side of your screen, and if you have more than one rescuer, you can divide and conquer and either just walk in a straight line or perform just smaller zigzags. And the idea is we're just trying to find a signal as quickly as possible. So we could be running in this part of the phase. During the signal search phase, you should be looking for clues. Look for skis, poles, snow machines, people sticking out near the surface, anything like that. Because if you see an object or a person waving their hand at you, that's going to be way easier to find than staring at your transceiver the whole time. Pull on equipment or any clues that you might find and see if there's a hand inside of that glove. Is there a pole sticking out and someone's hand is grabbing it? Just pull on all that gear and make sure that you're not missing something. If you don't find anything attached to the object or you don't see a person nearby, put the gear back in place because that'll become really important if organized rescue comes on scene. But we just don't want to be staring at our transceiver. Don't get lost in the technology. Don't be a millennial. Once our transceiver has picked up a signal, then we're going to move into course search. And we can start moving a little bit slower during this process because we don't want to overwhelm the transceiver. And you'll kind of come in at a little bit of an angle, sort of like the screen is showing. And the idea behind the course search is you want to get the arrow in the center of your transceiver and make the numbers go smaller. And the unit of measure that you're seeing on your screen is in meters, not feet. So that's really important to remember. Meters to the buried subject. And it's measuring the length of the flux line towards the buried subject is really important to remember. So put the arrow in the center and make the numbers go smaller. When you're in find search mode, most transceivers will quit showing arrows and you'll just get a number. And so now we need to move slower and just give our transceiver a little bit of a break because during the find search mode, your transceiver is doing the most math and it's thinking the most. It's really trying to narrow in on where the lowest burial depth is. And once we come up with our lowest number, then we can get our probe out and start probing that spot and really making sure that a person's there. When we probe, we want to probe 90 degrees to the slope, and ideally we hit the person on the first strike. That doesn't always happen, and especially if you haven't practiced a lot, you're probably not going to hit your buried subject on the first strike. So if you miss the person, you're going to start spiraling out at 25 centimeter intervals, like in the photo on the right. And once you do get a strike, leave the probe in place because that'll help determine the direction you need to dig. And a lot of times students ask, what about poking the person? What if I hit their eye or I hit their face or something? And just don't worry about that. They've got way bigger issues underneath the snow than you poking them with the probe. And don't spear the person or anything like that, but you need to find them and you need to get them to the surface as quickly as possible. That's just super important. Like, get them to the surface. And a lot of times people wonder, what is it going to feel like when I probe a person? And it's just going to feel different than anything else in the snowpack. And I always tell students, it could be soft, it could be squishy. You could hit the person's body and they're padded with their puffy clothing or their gear on. You could hit their backpack and that could be soft. Or you could hit their helmet. You could hit their skis, their boots, their board, or anything like that. So it's just going to feel different. And it'll be pretty obvious. In Salt Lake City, there was a burial inbounds at a ski resort, and they had to get members of the general public to help with the probing because there was just so much debris and they needed to find the person. And it was so obvious that a 13-year-old who had never probed before was able to identify a probe stripe correctly. So it'll be pretty obvious and it's going to feel different. Once you've probed the person, now comes the hard work, shoveling. And the basic idea with shoveling is we only move the snow once and we never want to move more snow than we have to. We want to get to that person as quickly as possible. And the biggest mistake you could make when shoveling someone out from an avalanche is standing directly on top of them and digging straight down. If you've ever done any medicine, like practice with medicine or moving someone, it can be really hard to move a patient around safely and like effectively. So if you dig straight down to them, you're going to have to pull them out of a deep hole, and that's just not going to work, right? People are heavy. They might have other injuries going on. So we want to dig into them at an angle so we have a nice flat area to help prep out for any first aid that's going to have to happen, or packaging the patient up to move out of the backcountry. And so shoveling takes a lot of time and energy and work. So the person at the front is going to need pretty frequent breaks. So what we're going to say is be at the front shoveling for 2 to 4 minutes. And when you're at the front, you got to shovel as fast and as hard as you can. And there's a special technique that your instructors will show you to cut up avalanche debris and be able to remove it faster. But you should be shoveling so hard that you're exhausted when you're in the front. And once you've gotten tired out, you need to move to the back of the line where it's not as much work and the next person can step up and keep digging. And just remember, when we're practicing all this stuff, that you really only have 15 minutes to get to the person and have a happy outcome. So time is of the essence. And when we're first practicing, it's okay to take this slow and make sure that we're doing it right. But as we start getting more and more proficient with this, we really want to practice like it's the real thing and think about what we were going to do if it's our friend, a family member, or just a random person that needs our help that was caught in an avalanche. So just practice with purpose, be deliberate, and fix your mistakes. Because if you practice things wrong, you're going to do it wrong in the real thing. So just practice with purpose and know how to use our equipment when we're out there. So I hope this was helpful, and thanks for your time.